Hey guys, welcome up to another episode of Pod of War. I'm your host here, Gizmo, joined by massive ass Chris Pingley.
Hello everyone.
And a very stylish Craig Warren.
Hello.
So boys, it's 6,000 degrees. I've had to turn all the fans off to record this. All the windows are now shut. So this is going to be a 6-minute podcast. Are we all ready?
We've moved to a tropical island somewhere.
Yeah. It's this beautiful island in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
England. So gang, another week. Let's start with what we will always start with. It's Craig, what you've been playing, big boy?
So I'm playing a lot. I've had to get my true achievements up because I could not keep track of this otherwise. Can Dave make it past this after the first test? So, first of all, I finished my run on Resident Evil Village, my second run. Going for those 4 achievements. Managed to get all 4. Got the knife one, got the under 3-hour one, and then the other 2 that I was going for. Really fun run. Would recommend doing it. Anyone has that game and wants to get a little bit more out of it. So you literally 3 hours. Buy the good knife. Don't try and do it with the standard knife because you will hate everything can yourself. Trying to do it like that. Once you fit it, buy the more powerful one, and you can just kind of steamroll your way through, and it's quite fun. It almost feels like breaking the game, just running through and killing everything in 2 hits. So I'd recommend giving that a go if you have that. After Resident Evil Village, I played Rain on Your Parade, which I believe Chris has played as well.
Yeah.
Best way to describe it is it's kind of a mix of Donut County and Untitled Goose Game. It's kind of silly. It gives you weird, silly objectives. But you play as a little cloud raining on people, kind of in the name. It is very creative with what it does, though. There's some really kind of weird, kind of cool levels. There's one where you're controlling a little zombie island, little zombie villagers running around getting them to kill people. There's some kind of spoofy stuff. I think it does a Metal Gear Solid spoof. There's a Counter-Strike spoof. I feel like there's a couple more in there as well, but it does, which is quite funny and quite silly. I managed to get the completion on this as well, which is it wasn't too bad. I think it took me about 7 or 8 hours.
Nice.
Did one kind of just blind playthrough, just kind of having a bit of fun with it. And then I looked at Macca had a guide where he basically walks you through it. You use the New Game Plus, you go through and just get all the challenges and that sort of thing. So there's collectibles as well, but there's only 16, I'd say, across the game, so quite quick to get. And there's one annoying achievement where you've got to go onto a certain level and basically just leave your controller for an hour, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. Because if your controller dies, then you pick it up and press A, and it counts that you've actually moved or something like that. So you've got to keep it on and then just keep swiveling the stick every now and again. So you're doing something else and just remember to move your stick. But it's not too bad. Yeah, I managed to get that completion, so that was quite cool. And then I managed to get another completion. And this has been a long time in the works. I don't know if I spoke about this before. It's the Tourist. I managed to finally get those arcade machines on the last bit I had to do in that damn game.
Then they sent you the shirt for finishing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it. It all ties in.
So it all comes together.
Yeah. I went back to this, so I didn't really have anything else to play, and I gave myself a rule that I was not allowed to uninstall this game until I.
Well, it is now leaving Game Pass, so you've timed it well.
Nice. Yeah, it was just been sat there staring at me, taunting me this whole time. I finally went back. I had already done one of the arcade machines. There's 3 you've got to get the high scores on. I'd already done one before, so I had 2 there. Managed to get one of them in my second attempt. So I was like, right, I've got no excuse now. I've literally got 1 more left. Just got to get this done. It took me about an hour of just sitting there retrying it over and over again. There's lots of swearing, a lot of cursing, a lot of anger, some misery. But I finally got there. And then managed to get the completion just after that. So that was that game done. So that is now uninstalled finally. That's been installed on my Xbox since launch, basically.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been there a while. But yeah, we finally got the completion on that game. Very, very good completion. Thank God. And we say that's great timing because it has now left Game Pass. And then next up, I played Space Jam: A New Legacy, the game. Mouthful, isn't it? Very quick, obviously, under 20 minutes. It's simple beat 'em up, and I think me and Dave played this at the same time, and then went back to it after we played because I saw Mac had done a guide on how to get some of the easier achievements. You have to do some stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about doing. So I went back, did 2 runs basically, just did a normal run, and then did the map guide just to get a couple more achievements, just to take me over the line with that. I think I finished on about 600. Something like that. I think you had a little bit more than me, Dave.
Yeah, I think I had 700. I think by the end, roughly
I
something
couldn't
like that.
get the juggling achievement. It was just annoying me, so I get that.
Yeah, I got lucky with that. I got really lucky with that.
The pain in the ass one. And then after that, I went back to a lot of me just going back to old games this week because I kind of didn't really have like a main game to play, so I was just kind of going back to random stuff.
Yeah.
I went back to Forza Horizon 3, mainly because I kind of done everything I wanted to do in Forza Horizon 4. I was like, I didn't really play 3 as much, mainly because I think we mainly played a co-op. So I was
We
normally
did,
in
yeah.
other people's games. So there's a lot of like easy achievements that I hadn't got. Things like I hadn't done like any street races. There's a few other like random stuff like that, right? Just like some of the showcases I hadn't done. There's achievements for doing them. So I just went back, picked up a few of them. Game is still good, but it is going back to it now after playing a lot of 4. You can see like how much better 4 is. Like, the step-ons they made it. Like 4 plays so much smoother than this. It's like ridiculous. I'm guessing because 4's now 60 frames per second. It's had all the next-gen patches and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's good to go back to, but yeah, it's kind of hard playing that after playing so much at 4. So I got the easier achievements. I'll probably leave it at that because it's difficult.
It's very grindy as well, even compared to 4. It's very grindy, especially the main game.
But I did get pumped for 5 coming in November, is it?
Yeah.
It'll come around.
Definitely looking forward to that. And finally, I went back to the game that has hurt me so much, and that's Immortals Phoenix Rising. I think I started in January, and then I had the issue where it deleted like half of my progress basically. So I was about halfway through the game, and then it put me back to like a quarter of the way through the game, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. And sat there, I didn't want to sell it because I actually really enjoyed the game. It's a really fun like open world game, really kind of like chill. You can just kind of go around like doing stuff on the map quite easily. But yeah, it kind of like it hurt me. I lost 8 hours before. So I've managed to get now caught up to where I was. If not, I think I'm a little bit ahead of where I was now. I think I've got a little bit further than where I was before it like deleted all my saves. I'm in the 3rd area now. So yeah, I'm just kind of working through that. Probably play a little bit more this week. We've got a couple of releases as well, I believe, this week on Game Pass. We've got Chris Tales and we've got...
I think Chris Tales is tomorrow. I think so is Death's Door.
Yeah, so probably give Chris Tales a good go, just get some Game Pass, and then kind of use this as like a secondary game, just kind of mop up and go back to. Maybe do the DLC. I don't know. I know Chris Tales didn't like a lot of DLC. So
No, I really like the Myth of the like Mystic Realms, like the one sent in like ancient China. That was good, but I didn't really like the other 2.
So maybe
I just think, especially the one where they tried to turn it into like a roguelike sort of thing. Especially like, we just moved the map. You put the camera, and it's like terrain was in the way and stuff of the camera and stuff like that. A bit of a pain.
Yeah, that's the 3rd one, isn't it? So yeah, I might, depending how long it takes me to just do the main game, I might do that second one. Like you said, the Asian one. Yeah, that's been it for me. It's been a lot of games this week.
Yeah, it sounds like, and obviously that's the second part of the Triforce of Ubisoft, so you'll just have Assassin's Creed left after that. The launch. Nice. Yeah, I did see, so obviously, if you go on our Xbox achievement leaderboard, like me and Craig have smashed out like 3,500 each already this month, I think. So it's been a solid Xbox month, which is lovely stuff. So we'll do me next. We'll end on Pengy because that's what the fans want. I've had a slightly similar, but like not quite as extreme week as Craig. I also played Space Jam: New Legacy same time as Craig, exactly the same. It's free and it's very average, but it's free. It was very, very harmless. It's a shame it's not online, but I can't imagine it cost a lot to make. So I think free player local would probably be quite a lot of fun to get the rest of the achievements, but that'll have to wait for another day. Maybe a stream one day. All 3 of us, that'd be funny, wouldn't it? Chris can be Lola Bunny. I think Chris would have to be Lola Bunny.
Sure.
Other than that, I've played Tell Me Why, which took me over the 100,000 mark on my gamer score at long last, and not massively impressed, to be honest with you. It was very boring. I'm probably the least into the walking sims, I think, of the 3 of us. Like, it takes a really solid one, like a really intriguing story to kind of pull me through, and I just didn't think the story was interesting. It was very clear from the start of the game that the game had a message, which is great, cool, but it was like, it really beat you over the head with that message for like the most of the game. And I don't really think it got intriguing until like maybe the final chapter, where it's like, oh yeah, we're actually gonna question who the dad is now. It's like, surely that's one of the first things that should be questioned. But like, and even then, I don't think the payoff was particularly good.
It's a massive anticlimax.
Yeah, I think the payoff for the whole game in both. So I went and watched both endings after. Obviously, I did my ending, and I went and watched the other one. And yeah, again, they've given it the whole game away for free, right? It's not just a Game Pass thing. I think they gave it away for free.
It was free for Pride, so it's not free now, but it was all last
and it's
month.
Still on Game Pass stuff. So like, in that regard, it was okay. Like, I'm glad I wouldn't have paid for it. It's definitely not pushed me towards Life is Strange, though. I'd imagine the Life is Strange games are better than this, but like, they're not. Okay, God, then I'm probably done. with those.
Obviously, True Colors is Deck 9, and Before the Storm is Deck 9, not Don't Nod. But yeah, I've played obviously Life is Strange 1, 2, where obviously is Don't Nod. Also Twin Mirror 1, which was really bad, but that was Don't Nod's new team that they did. But I would say this is one of the better ones. Tell me why.
God.
The Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm, I would say are better, and obviously one of them's Deck 9, not Don't Nod. So I would say that's Don't Nod's second best game. Tell me why, apart from Life is Strange 1. They've obviously done other things, like they did Remember Me.
Which no one remembers, ironically enough.
Yeah, the weird thing is, like, I seen like someone did like a retrospective review, and it sounds like a bit like Nier Replicant, and like if it came out now with a bit of polish, I think people would like it more than when it first came out. And they did Vampire as well, which just I think is okay from what I found.
So they're a purveyor of average. That seems to be what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, but they're like, you say average, but their Life is Strange game is, to me, is like a high 8, low 9 sort of game. So it's taste, isn't it? So
I guess. I mean, I'm going to trust Craig on his opinion of Life is Strange. I know he's talked at length about how hilarious he finds that game. But yeah, tell me why it did nothing for me. So I will avoid the other ones. I won't be buying True Colors, which again looks just as hipstery as the other ones. So I'll stick to the 600,000 other games that are available.
Yeah, I'm excited for True Colors. I would just be getting the standard version though. I don't think I need to play a remastered of Life is Strange and Before the Storm.
No, definitely not. Especially because it's so cheap otherwise. Trying to think of it. I played a little bit of the Batman Arkham DLC because it was on sale. I think it was like £4 for the season pass. And that game is on Game Pass, so I was like, oh, I'll jump in. I played the Harley Quinn one, which was okay, and I played a little bit of the Red Hood one, and I was like, this is kind of bad. Like, it just has not held up as much as I thought it was going to. Like, because I was presumed that fighting system, it would just kind of be flawless now. Because I've been back to, like, I know I bring up every episode, but I went back to Sleeping Dogs a couple of years ago, and that was fine. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the same fighting style, but yeah, it's not as much fun without Batman. Without all the gadgets and stuff, it is kind of a beat you over the head kind of game. But it was very cheap, so I was like, okay, whatever. And I was like, I can only spend like a tenner on games. What's that, Greg?
That's a pickup. Does that mean you've broken your streak?
Well, it's DLC, so if you want to count that, sure. But it was a £4 DLC, so I was like, right, I've already got that game. The achievement list is already on my account, so I was like, can I push up my completion percentage? Was really my thinking, because I'm hovering at 30% now, like, which was my first target. So I've gone up like 3%, I think, in the last 2 months of just games I've started. So yeah, I've just been buying DLC. So I was going to buy Death's Door tomorrow, but I'm holding off on that because I think, well, I'll give Christ Tales a go, or Chris Tales, whatever the fuck it's called, and then I'll give The Ascent a go the week after. So I was like, realistically, I'm not going to be able to...
Also, the Saint Ascent is a 3D platform called Omno or something like that. It's coming straight to Game Pass as well. So that might be up your street, because I know you do like a platform.
I do like a platform.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. Like, it's funny to me whenever we do these things. Like, so I'm the one that used to be the indie dev, but I compared to you two, like, hate indie games. I just don't play them. Whereas I'm like, yeah, give me that AAA game that I've probably started at some point and never finished. Like like the Xbox One version of Skyrim, it's got like 1 achievement and stuff. And Red Dead Redemption, which I think I've got 1 achievement, the first one. So, but that's all I've played this week. Obviously, other than that DLC, I haven't bought anything. I don't plan to buy anything. I just don't have the money. So moving swiftly on to Chris Pengelly. What have you bought and played this week, Chris?
I basically played 2 games. One of them's one of my pickups, so I'll start with not my pickup, and that was more Monster Hunter Stories 2, which I finished. So I finished the story of that. Very good game. I might be very controversial here and say it's the best sort of monster RPG game on the Switch. Because Sword and Shield, Pokemon Sword and Shield, weren't fantastic. I've never played Diamond and Pearl. Maybe they'd be real good remasters. I know it's different. You don't like catch your monsties. You got to go get your egg from somewhere and stuff like that. And you got Ni no Kuni and stuff, which you get your little helpers and stuff with. That is very much in that wheelhouse of JRPGs. It's not a grindy trials with Cold Steel. It's not like that extreme of JRPG. It's much more like, I guess, simple, family-friendly JRPG. It's much more compare it to like a Pokemon or something like that. Finished that. It's it's good, nice, bright, colourful. Performance issues which we talked about before. So if you have got a decent PC, maybe play it in there instead.
Or maybe wait till the end of the year and the topic of the show.
And that, but yeah, good game. And then the only other game I got,
happy little face.
Was I got Skyward Sword and I got the Zelda Northwing amiibo.
It's a nice £25 DLC you got in your hands there.
Yep. But yeah, it goes with all my other, how many Zelda amiibo I got. Yes, I started that. I've played about 2.5 hours of it so far, and looks good. And still, it does feel like a. Going back to Replicant, I said that looked like a PS3 game sort of still. You could tell it looked like better, and if you do the comparisons, you can see this game does look way better than that. It does sort of still look like a Wii, a Wii game, and some of the textures are quite low because of obviously Nintendo's art style. It still looks good as well. It's like if I imagined if this was realistic, I reckon it would not have hold up as well. And the other thing, I don't like either control scheme that they've done.
I'm shocked to hear that.
Yeah, I was expecting that.
Yeah.
See,
I obviously played it 10 years ago on Wii with the Wiimote, and I can't remember really having any issues. I finished it back to back. I can't remember really having any issues. Use Pro Controller, that, and every time, I think it's just natural because obviously every other game, the right stick is the camera. So I'm like walking around, want to move my camera, and I'm actually accidentally moving my sword because the right stick is now the sword, and it's like, you gotta press the left bumper to be able to then use the right stick as your camera. To me, I would have made it as the left bumper was sheathe your sword and draw your sword. So you press it to sheathe your sword, and then the left stick is now your camera. Press it again, you draw your sword, and then the right stick is now your sword. That's what I would have done. But so many times I've gone to move the camera and I'm accidentally like hitting a pot or something with my sword because I'm using the wrong stick. So I thought, okay, let's try it with the Joy-Cons because this is how we played it 10 years ago. Using the sword and that feels way much more natural using the Joy-Con and have movements when you're fighting like the enemy. So it feels much better. I much prefer that. Yeah, then as soon as I went and got onto my Loftwing to fly around in the sky, and you got to hold your bloody Joy-Con like this, and like move your Loftwing like as you're piling it. It is god awful.
Yeah.
And there's a few other bits of that so far where I've had, like the bomb, and thing. If you Joy-Con, you got to like underarm if you want it on the thing, or you got to throw it like that. And it's like with the controller, I just press up on my stick and then throws it up or down on my stick. It's just really the weird thing is when I also play it with Joy-Con, I never thought about using the camera sort of like once. I just did it how I did it in like on the Wii, where the camera will follow Link, and you have to use it's like the Z button where it will line the camera back up. But on the controller, because it's every other game for like the last 20 years, with the thing is it's just like a natural sort of like instinct and that. But I will continue with the controller just because the bits outside of the sword with the Joy-Con are just so awful. But yeah, like I said, they're only 2 hours in. Got like another 40 odd to go. So see how it goes.
Sounds fun. So my girlfriend's playing this. Yeah, he's never gonna finish it. So my girlfriend's playing this, and she has the exact same complaints. So she just, I've been watching her because it's just fun to watch her like fail at puzzles. But she started with the Pro Controller, just hated the combat. It was like, this sucks. And
the combat does suck with the controller.
She's enjoying it a lot more with the waggling, but the loft wing and the beetle thing is driving her nuts. And it's like,
that's awful.
Like, I'm glad. This is why I hated the Wii. Like, this is literally why the Wii is the least played console I've ever owned.
Like, this is the thing. I didn't like the Wii, and like I've talked about like Super Mario Galaxy before. Like, it's one like the only 3D Mario I've like not played, and everyone's like, "How have you not played that?" And it's like, "Oh, because of the controls." And I'm like, "Oh, the controls are fine." I'm like, no, the Wii controls are awful. I have no idea how I finished like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword on the Wii. And Skyward Sword, like I said, I finished like twice right off the thing with those controls on the Wii. It's like, I don't.
Maybe you were more blind to the Nintendo than even you are now. But
it must have been,
because it is poor, and it's kind of killed, I think, this like and Mario Galaxy for me on Switch, because it's just Mario Galaxy has the same problem where like it's neither control is perfect. You have the controller, which makes the normal stuff fine, but then anytime you've got to use the touch or gyro, it's like suicide, because you got to point a proper controller at a TV. It's awful. And then if you play it on handheld, cool, you've got some touch controls, but then you try holding the Switch with one hand. Or for me, because I use the split pad Pros, I can't play it. I have to take them off and put the Joy-Con on because you need the gyros. So it's like, I can't even use the comfortable controller. This is, and we're going to talk about this as a topic of the show in a minute, but this is really Nintendo's fucking problem at the moment. And they've always been bad for it, but they always get away for it. They always get away with it. It's terrible. It's like Sony are bad for it as well, but it's like, yeah, it literally, like, honestly, so like, it's like Xbox are the most convenient people you're ever going to meet. So like, if you're used to Xbox, this is like fucking mental. Sony's like slightly worse in places, and then Nintendo is just, what are they thinking at the time? But nice.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. It's like Skyward Sword back on the Wii made sense for the Wii with like the controls, and you had the motion controls, but it just doesn't make sense in 2021. I guess I don't know how else they would have got around it, because you have to have that sword accuracy. You just can't map the sword to an A or X button, because obviously you need it for certain enemies and certain puzzles to be able to, slice that way, whatever, slice upwards. You can't just do that with an A button. So I don't know the way around it. Like I said, my solution is just use the L for achieving and drawing your sword. It's one button.
Unfortunately, that is never going to happen because it's Nintendo. So they've pumped that out and it's done.
Otherwise, you want to use the camera, you got to just hold the L thing all the time.
But yeah, still reviewing well, obviously, because why wouldn't it? Anyway, let's move on from that. So it's not really a big topic this week, because I think there's lots of little topics popping up at the minute for some reason. I know E3 was like a month ago, but for some reason everyone has got like weird announcements at the moment. Obviously we had the OLED last week. We've got an Ubisoft thing like later today as time of recording. And then we've got EA Play in a couple of days. So next week's will probably be EA Play and whatever the Tom Clancy thing is later. But today we're talking about a new console, which is pretty exciting. It's not a console, but it is a console. It's a hybrid.
About the Intellivision.
No, we're not talking about your trash, Chris. We're going to talk about Valve's Steam Deck. Now, first of all, the worst name they've ever chosen. So it was originally going to be Steam Power, which is pretty bad. But there is a literal product called a Stream Deck. So the fact that now that if you have to get, like, every time I've watched a video, someone's got it the wrong way around. So we got the Steam Deck, not the Stream Deck. And the new Stream Deck was announced on the same day as the Steam Deck. So there's one for the news fans. So what is the Steam Deck? Well, the Steam Deck is a handheld PC, for want of a better term. It's basically the Switch Pro, right? That's the joke. It's as powerful as a PS4, but not because it's a 720p screen. It's actually a lot more powerful in theory, because the only resolution you're going to get to is 720 on handheld. So it will be able to do in a way, but like, so what it's the resolution is, but like you'll be able to have higher graphic settings, higher textures, ray tracing, all that kind of stuff, because it won't need to output it as high. But I think it is capable of 4K and 8K, because it can be externally linked up to a monitor. So
the thing is also like the PS4. If you're going by like the teraflops, is like 1.82, but it's based on like the Jaguar cores, and it's like 8-year-old tech now. Where this is all new, shiny Zen 2.
Yeah, and teraflops mean nothing. Like,
because look at the Series S compared to the One X. The One X on paper is more powerful.
Yeah.
The Series S is newer technology, so the Steam Deck is newer technology than the PS4, so it might even be slightly more powerful, because like we've seen like Fallen Order patterning run on high settings. Like I don't know what Fallen Order is running on PS4, for instance.
Yeah, it's really different. Like, so like, teraflops are just one of those things. They tried to do it with bits back in the day. Just it doesn't actually mean anything. Like, don't go off. Just go off what games actually look like what games run at. So like Fallen Order will run at 720p. 60 frames a second with ray tracing, all that kind of stuff. Like that's what it is. That's what you want to look at. For me, I think Craig is probably the same. Like for me, it's load times and frame rate. That's all I really care about. Like I've never been fussed about resolution as long as it looks nice. Like I don't care if it's 720 or if it's 8K. Like if it looks nice on my TV, then I'm pretty happy. Like it's not. I've never been. Oh, it has to be 4K, so we'll sacrifice. That kind of stuff.
I get you, but like I played Samurai Warriors 5, and that like looks a muddy mess on the Switch, because the resolution
and it also
so low.
runs badly. And compared to the thing we're missing with this so far is that this is a handheld. So if you compare it to the Switch, it's hilariously powerful because the Switch is that underpowered. Anyway, but what else was I going to say? So it's coming out later this year. It is an open platform, so you don't have to run SteamOS, but SteamOS is what it's built off, which is what the average user is going to use. Like the effort to get a Windows key on it is going to be whatever, and it's going. Yeah, to be fair, like you'll have to be like a PC. You'll have to be a PC gamer. Like that's the thing. It's got 3 SKUs at the minute. It's got a 64 gig SKU, which is using a slower SSD, but it's still an SSD. And then you've got 2 SKUs with an NVMe SSD drive, which is what is in the PlayStation and the Xbox, basically. Not quite, but basically. So initially, let's go with Craig, because I know he's probably the least PC gamer of us all. What are your initial thoughts on the Steam Deck, Craig?
Not a lot of interest, in all honesty. Mainly because like when I think of PC gaming, I think of like Valorant and League of Legends and that sort of thing. That's obviously not really something you do handheld anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really. I think you said in the group. I don't really see who this is mainly for. Nintendo, for example, their Switch. You're not buying that necessarily for the hardware. You're buying it for the Nintendo games. I know there's been more of an open. You say more open, like the whole Steam library. But realistically, if you're playing handheld, you probably just want to play something kind of simple, fun, exactly what Nintendo does.
Yeah.
I don't really see like the market for it. I was joking this would die pretty quickly, and I really don't see like a lot of people rushing out to buy this. To be honest with you, definitely not something I would ever consider. If I wanted a handheld, I would get a Switch because I want the Nintendo games. I struggle with this definitely.
Nice. So like I kind of agree with you. It's tough, right? So like it's a very curious machine. It's not like something like, so when you look at like Stadia as an example, I know people are gonna hate on us again for this, but like you look at Stadia and you can kind of see that it's just not gonna hit big. No matter what they do, it's not gonna hit big. Like the technology's great, but like the actual model just isn't there. Whereas this is such a weird thing. I think the ceiling is pretty small. I think the ceiling is like 20 million. I think the ceiling is that, but it could equally get 100,000. It's very weird because I think it's a bit of a Trojan horse in that the argument that it's just a handheld isn't really a thing because it's so built to be a little gaming PC, and in that respect, I think it could be a bit of a Trojan horse to get people into PC gaming, because for its spec, it's quite cheap, like compared to a laptop.
What could you get for 350 quid?
You definitely couldn't get the like 16 gigs of RAM and all that kind of stuff. So, but it's still like, it doesn't come with the dock though. That's like the weird thing, like, you know what I mean? So it is an extra again. So it's really weird. I think pre-order wise, it's doing really well. What was that, Craig? Sorry, you're cutting out terribly in this.
It doesn't sound like it's being marketed that way, does it?
No.
It seems like it's much more of a handheld.
It's been marketed to. It seems like it's been marketed to PC gamers, which is weird because surely they're not the people that they've got the PC already. Like,
yeah, I guess if they want to play their if they've got 200 games in their Steam library and like, want to play it on the go, but
yeah, and they just don't if they don't want a Switch. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you want a handheld that isn't Nintendo, that is the only other option. Like, you got no interest in Nintendo's games. If you take Nintendo's games out of the Switch, what you got? You got indies, which will be cheaper on Steam.
It's cheaper on Steam, and you got third-party games which are gonna run worse than they are on the Steam Deck,
and will be cheaper on Steam.
And be cheaper on Steam.
Yeah.
So if you compare the two, like, to that, if you wanted a portable and you don't care about Nintendo's games, then it is mostly the better, the better deal.
So what do you think, Chris? Obviously, 'cause I know we joke that you buy almost everything eventually.
Yeah, it's such a weird one, because look at like the Switch, and jokingly, I've had like 3 of them. I've had the one in launch. Bought it, didn't like Breath of the Wild, so I think that left a sour taste, first impressions and all that sort of thing, and there wasn't much for me for a while, so I did get rid of it, and then I bought a Lite, which is great for Animal Crossing, and that's like all I played on it, and then playing Hyrule Warriors on that, so this run badly, bought this Switch, and all I've done is played it dot, and I rarely played handheld, even though ironically I own 3 Vitas. I rarely do play handheld, so to me, this would just be a docked machine, and then it just becomes, so docked machine is just basically a games console then, and I've got an Xbox Series X. If I want to play. Let's use Jedi Fallen Order as the thing, because that's been shown. If I want to play Fallen Order, I can play it on my Series X. If I want to play that weird indie game, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a weird indie game that's coming out on. Let's use Chris Tell's example. I know I'm going to put.
Tunic is a good one because that's coming out on both.
I was thinking of a game that's coming to Switch, but anyway, that. Why don't just play it on the Switch? It's fine. It's an indie game. It doesn't need to be in 4K, 60 frames a second, and stuff like that. So that takes that away. So it's like, how much do I play on PC? Barely anything. And I've talked about Kenna Bridge of Spirits coming this year. That's the only sort of game thing. Is my laptop good enough? Yeah, it most probably is to play that one PC game I want to play. So that's it, for me. Talk about League of Legends, Valorant, and stuff like that. Those games, if you're going to play them, you're going to play them properly on I guess, like I said, it's just an easy entry level. You don't have to go splash out £1,000 or something on a high-end PC to play League of Legends or whatever. You just this is this really cheap alternative. I ain't got a lot of money. Let's get this 350 quid. Buy a USB-C hub or whatever, because you use third-party ones, and maybe that. But yeah, it's just not a lot there to sell it for me.
So it is interesting. So I have one pre-ordered, not for me, for my partner, because she wants to get back into PC gaming, and she only plays handheld. So she has a Switch. Since we've been dating 10 years, she's had every Nintendo handheld console. The only home console she's really put any time in on the TV is the Wii U, which even that has a handheld option. So it's for her specifically, I understand why she wants it, completely. She's going to play all the games that we would play on Xbox or whatever, because she'd rather play handheld. Fair enough, right? but there isn't many people like that. I think it's one market which is interesting to me, because I don't know if this market is still here, is the hardcore handheld market. So the PSP and the Vita were basically that, right? So the PSP was 86 million, Chris, something like that, and then the Vita is about 14. And the Vita's big problem as well, that because it was very closed, which is why it sold poorly, whereas the PSP was very open, which is why it sold really well. So I'm curious. I'm very curious. Do I think it's going to take off? No, I don't. But I think it stands more of a chance than I think perhaps even you two are giving it. Maybe. Only slightly.
Yeah.
But
Like you
it's
say about hardcore handheld, and like you use like you get a girlfriend as an example, but like people have been going on about like Switch Pro for ages. So obviously people want that more powerful handheld sort of thing.
it's tough
It's
because
just
we only hear the Twitter discourse, so we're a very small percentage of people. You know what I mean? Like, so all the hardcore right now, like, oh, I want to pre-order one, but you're like, that could be 100,000 people, which is nothing. You know?
Yeah.
It's such a hard market to break into as well, isn't it? That's the thing.
Oh, Craig, you just got massively louder. I don't know what that was, buddy. Let me just deal with you a sec. Have you just changed from your earbuds as a microphone, by the way, to your actual microphone?
No idea.
Because it's just got, you literally just then, like, it just went from like 20% volume to like 160. So I apologise to all the people that just got scared the shit out of by Craig.
Yeah.
You weren't alone. But yeah, I think does the fact that it's Valve do anything? Because obviously there is portable PCs out. They've been out for a while. Like Razer have made one. I think AO made one. There's some good ones out there. But obviously the fact that it's Valve and it's sort of it's got the platform holder, isn't it?
And it's got the platform holder, like in the PC space and sort of thing. Like if Epic brought one out or something, you could like tied with the Epic store or something like that. You can see the But you think when I think Razer and stuff like that, I just think of accessories more.
Yeah.
I think on my Razer keyboard, the Razer mouse, or the headset, or whatever. They do make gaming laptops and stuff like that. That's what I think. Well, like Steam, I can see the ecosystem, and then obviously you get your Steam achievements and your little icons,
which the Nintendo still doesn't have. Cross game chat, which Nintendo still doesn't have. Yeah. Well, that's the question. Could you see Epic doing one? Because I kind of could, to be honest. I could see them partnering with. I could see them partnering with them to make an Epic branded one. I know that Tim Sweeney's like very high on the fact that it's open, but I wouldn't be. I wouldn't. They've got the money. Wouldn't surprise me if they see that as a market they can get into, because that's the whole reason they're doing PC, isn't it?
Interview is like he doesn't expect it to sell tens of millions or something, but he expect it to like open.
Yeah.
Like the thing, and people using like Steam, it seems more like they want people using Steam. So if an Epic did one, obviously people would be using Epic. But I could very much see like use Samsung as a example. Samsung making their like own one, and it uses the Steam OS, and you're buying Steam games, and you're buying games on there on your PC instead of buying them off Epic or Good Old Games or Humble Bumble or whatever they are and stuff like that. I think from his interview, it's more like try to get people just using Steam.
Yeah, because also we haven't had that full interview yet, which is I can't wait. It's like I don't watch IGN anymore, but like their coverage of this has been so good and so fascinating that I really am looking forward to that hour-long conversation with Gabe Newell, because he's not one that gives many interviews very often, and he's a very smart dude. Like even if you're not, he really is the PC's closest version to Phil Spencer. And he's just been doing it longer. Like he's very interesting. I think even Craig would find his interviews very interesting, because he's a very, like I said, very smart, switched on guy. He does talk in the brief clip that I have seen. He did mention about opening up a secondary market like they did with VR, because really they sort of headed VR, and then there's been 3 or 4 headsets that have come out from different manufacturers that have their own platform. So I am curious.
More like that.
Yeah, I am curious whether like Epic will do one.
HTC Steam Deck. And this is the Samsung Steam Deck, and they're all slightly different. They have similar internals, but some want to make one slightly more powerful. So you've now got a 900p screen or something, and so one's got 1 terabyte SSD in it, and all that sort of stuff.
One thing I
That's
have
just
seen.
going to water it down even more, though, isn't it? That's just going to...
Yeah.
You're just getting diluting the market even more then.
Yeah, but then this is the thing. I guess because I'm not into PC, to me that's just how PCs are. Like my laptop is different to your laptop, and it's different to your desktop. But we could all play Kena British Spirits, but your experience might be 1080p 60, mine might be 930, Days might be 4K. I don't know.
Well, this is the future that we've talked about this in a different way lots of times, and that's Xbox and the way Xbox are going about their platform, not a console. So, for using them as an example, they don't care where you play Xbox as long as you're playing Xbox. And I think what Chris is trying to say is that that's what could potentially happen with this with Steam.
Yeah.
I'm more interested
on Steam.
Yeah, I'm more interested. So a lot of videos have come out about this already. I've already gone, well, why don't Sony make another one? I'll be honest here, that's not happening. I think you're way more likely that Microsoft might make one than Sony. I don't think they will, but I think it's way more likely that they might go, well, let's make a Game Pass machine. We're in PCs. Let's make it run Windows. Let's let it do the cloud streaming. Let's let it have some level of installing your own stuff. Like I said, it's a Xbox One S with a screen and a SSD drive. They could do that. I don't think they will, but I think that's a much more interesting conversation than the opportunity of Sony to do one.
Might do a branded Xbox service thing.
Well, they have games on Steam, so I wouldn't if they could get their app on that natively. Even if they were because I could see them doing the cloud stuff natively on Steam. I don't think Steam would let them have Game Pass to download, but I think they could let them do.
That's the whole.
But I think unless Steam are going to do their own version, I think xCloud could be on this thing. Like I said, they could do a Surface version, a Surface Deck. It's not that different technology, but it depends how well this does. I think that's really the crux of that. If this comes out and does do 2 million in the first year, if they're able to make 2 million and sell 2 million this time, by next Christmas, which doesn't seem like a massive number for what this is, it is a massive number. I think. Then you could see other people do it. But I said Sony are not one of them. I think you will see a Switch Pro, but it will be called the new Switch, and it will come out next year, and it will be slightly better. But I don't think it's going to be a similar sort of market, other than the fact they're handheld. I just don't see that. But yeah, it's fascinating. It's always fun when there's new people in the play, because obviously the last couple of years, there's been a lot of new people trying gaming. Obviously, one of the other news stories this week is that Netflix is jumping into cloud gaming as well. So you've already got Amazon, Google, Netflix, Walmart are apparently making one, Sony make one, Xbox make one, Nintendo have a couple of games. And that's just cloud. You got VR where there's 4 or 5 headsets, but really it's sort of come down to basically the Vive, the Oculus, and Steam Index, which is really the ones that have taken off, and PSVR, I guess, but.
PSVR.
But then even PlayStation don't care about it at the minute, because you've got to get an adapter for it. You know what I mean? PlayStation, man. And then obviously now we've got handheld as well. So it's all these new things. Something is going to give. I know gaming's the biggest thing in the world right now, especially because of COVID, and I think that's probably what's pushed some of this forward. Because people just aren't watching films as much as they used to be, and they aren't going out and buying CDs anymore. So, when's the last time Craig went and bought a vinyl? Exactly. It's with that shirt though. It's coming.
Yeah.
With the vinyl, man, that.
Yeah,
I haven't even bought vinyl for a while.
It was the last time you listened to one, even less so, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I suppose that's that. There's not much more we can say, but that's really our thoughts on the Steam Deck. Like I said, at the minute, I'm the only one that's probably going to have one in the house when we get it. I did get a reservation pretty quick, so if they do come out this year and I'm able to get one, I will obviously get Amanda on to talk about it, because obviously.
Yeah, how did that work? Because I've seen some people they put a £4 deposit because they only put £4. They'll get theirs in February 2022 or something.
No, so people are really confused by the. I've seen loads of people reporting this now, unless I'm being dumb. So when you go back on the page, so you can notice what. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So the way they did it is you have to have had a Steam account for a certain amount of time. Brilliant idea, fantastic, good job. Apparently darkness has enveloped me, so you're just going to have to live with that, boys and girls. And you're able to get a reservation if you've had an account for so long. You have
to buy a game before June, aren't you?
Yeah, before June this year. So, fuck me, the lighting is literally just gone. There's a cloud that's gone in front of the sun, and this is what happens. And I can't get up to turn the light on, so I'll do that in a second. So, you got your reservation, Cool. So you can get a reservation to pre-order one. You basically go into a queue. When it's your turn in the queue, you will get an email which is a specific link for you to buy the model that you've bought. So what's confusing people is when you go back onto the pre-order screen, the two options that you didn't buy have the like Q1, Q2 2022, meaning that you can't buy another one until then. The one you've pre-ordered is the initial batch, potentially, right? There's no date on it because they haven't made them all yet. So there's a £4 reservation fee to basically stop scalpers. That comes off at the end. So mine will cost $345 as opposed to $349. So that's it. It's very straightforward. It was actually for me, I was at 6 o'clock, then on the dot, got mine paid for. I had to wait a little bit for it to load, but by 10 past, it was bought. It was done. It was ready. Doesn't mean I've got one. It means I'm in the pre-order queue. But again,
I do like the
it was
whole,
smooth.
Like that's crazy. Crazy going to try to scout one, makes a Steam account, and he's never bought anything. Tries to get one. I do like that.
That's
whole,
how scalpers have killed the other ones, because they would they would have a bot that could basically make 60 accounts in like a second on let's use Argos for example, and then they'd use that account, they'd all buy them, and then whatever, right? So you can't do that. The only way you could buy it was via Steam, using a Steam account that was of a certain age, right? And they sprung it as well, so it wasn't like you could be prepared for it. They were like, the pre-orders are now. So if you haven't had a Steam account, you haven't bought any Steam games, then sorry, you're going to have to wait for the general release, which it was Sunday just being. So it was this one day that was for Steam people, which is really smart. And I hope that in the future, I hope when Microsoft do the next series, the Series X2, whatever, I personally would be like, right, well, why don't I just get a message on my Xbox telling me, right, you've had an Xbox account for this long.
Yeah, and buy it straight from...
Because you can buy consoles from the console, you know what I mean? So that, to me, that's what all these companies should do. They should reward their fans, because ultimately, the people that are buying the Steam Deck now are the people that are their sort of marketing. Because if it turns up here and it's really good, and I'm coming on a podcast and thinking, guys, it's really good, you should give it a chance.
Yeah,
it only takes.
I've played Death Stranding.
Well, it only takes one of you to buy it, and as soon as that's how we know anecdotally from the Series S, we're all the hardcore. So when we bought the Series S, we told all of our friends about the Series S, and what have they done, Craig? All of our friends have gone and bought Series S's. People that wouldn't normally buy a games console within the first year. We're going, your Dans, your Andys, people like that. It's happened the same for me here. They've gone, oh, hang on, it's quite cheap. It's got all these benefits. We just talk about Game Pass every week. People go and buy it, and that's what these companies need to do. That these are the people selling their consoles. It's not, the PS5 is just a mess. As a complete example, you can't buy a PS5. The people that get scalped straight away. So even if you want a PS5, that momentum is already starting to go, because you just don't even think about it now. If I wanted a PS5, I wouldn't have, I'm not checking every day for 8 months at this point, am I? You're just when I get one, I get one. Whereas with this, you're like, oh, actually, because it's through my account, I can tell people that when these come available, it's decent. So that's good. I'm glad they've tried to push that. But so she's got one. If it's good, I'll let you know. It is interesting that you can play Sony and Xbox games natively on Steam, which is quite funny to me. So you can play the Halo Master Chief Collection natively, and you can play Death Stranding and Horizon Zero Dawn. And obviously, we talked about Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is which is a console exclusive, but it's now not, because this is technically a console. So it's funny to me, because obviously Steam's always cheaper as well. So I wonder if it changes any deals. You know what I mean? I wonder when people are signing console exclusivity deals.
Monster Hunter Rise, for instance, is a console exclusive. It's coming to PC. It's now on the Steam Deck. So
well, you think Days Gone as well, and potentially Ghost of Tsushima, and Xbox is just...
In one scenario, could be the best place to play. It looks like it's getting everything apart from Nintendo's first party, and Sony games. Maybe you got to wait 2 or 3 years for them. But if you're willing to wait 2 or 3 years for that game, it could be the best box sort of thing, because it might have everything almost.
It's also got a massive back catalogue as well. Obviously, there's something you can say for Steam. Is that if you wanted to play, I don't know, you got into a new series and you're like, I kind of want to play the old series, 9 times out of 10 it's probably on there, and it's probably £1. You're like, oh, I want to play Baldur's Gate. It's £2 if you buy it on Steam. It's £29 if you buy it on Xbox. So you're like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, any closing thoughts on the Steam Deck, or any hopes for anyone else to do one, Craig? Would you buy an Xbox One if they did one?
No, probably not.
No,
Especially as they're obviously, I don't think Xbox will.
no,
Because
because it's on
all
Steam.
their thing is the cloud as well, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what they want to. That's where they want to be. So
Still waiting for that
I'd
Kishi,
imagine.
Craig.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been like one for mobile playing or handhelds in the first place. It's not really the market for me to start with. But yeah, I would have thought if Xbox did anything, it'd be something more towards that than a separate machine.
Or they, like they do like an Xbox branded one. Maybe it comes with the Kishi already in there, and it comes with your 3 months Game Pass Ultimate or something.
If they still did the Windows Phone, that would have already happened, I think. Sadly. Do you think Sony will make one, Craig? Do you think this will bring Sony back?
No, definitely not. I would have thought if they want to do something like that, it'd be more like going back into VR or something like that. That's probably where they would see, their next like accessory market.
Yeah, and they are doing a PSVR 2, so I think you're probably right. Again, it's just because I keep seeing all these articles about how Sony need to do a VR 2. So, Pengi, how about you? Any closing thoughts on the Steam Deck, and do you think that Sony are going to do one?
No real other thoughts on the Steam Deck. Like, I hope it does well, because obviously, if they all do well, it brings competition, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. I don't think Sony's gonna do another one. It's just kind of funny, though. Like, the Vita is this really powerful handheld console that can play console-like games, like an OLED screen on it, and what have we got now in 2021? A handheld with an OLED screen on it, and one that's really powerful and can play console games on the go. It just shows how far ahead it was at the time.
Yeah, we could do a whole. Maybe one day we'll do a whole video about the Vita, Chris. But there's
Yeah.
reasons the Vita did fail, and its main reasons were how closed off it is. That was really the main reason. Whereas I don't think the Switch is as closed off as the Vita, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, that's our Steam Deck episode. I don't know what we'll talk about next week. I'm sure it'll be something exciting. Probably Craig's shirts. That might be the whole episode next week. But again, if you like the show, drop a like, drop a subscribe. You can follow us everywhere you want. You can just follow Craig in the streets if you wish. He loves it.
Yeah.
And he will be wearing a mask though, so you won't be able to see him. But thanks guys. We'll see
Freedom
you.
Day, Dave. No more masks.
Don't start me on this. I've already been to the shop once today. Anyway, guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye.